Stop for a second. Take a breath. Step back from the noise of the news, the biases that stick to us like dust, and the constant roar of a world always shouting. In the middle of all this chaos, there's one question quietly knocking on the door of our minds. A question we rarely ask ourselves with full honesty. Why? Why is it that in the heart of the so-called rational Western civilization, among the educated, the doctors, academics, athletes, mothers, even former clergy, some are making an unexpected turn? Why Islam? This isn't about blind tradition or inherited beliefs. This is about souls who arrive not through habit or pressure, but through a long journey, shaky at first, but intentional. Eyes wide open after sailing through oceans of doubt, even resistance. This is a choice born from struggle, from questions deeper than just, what do I believe, but why do I believe it? These people aren't looking for an escape. They're chasing a truth that stands firm when everything else in life starts to shake. So let's talk without masks, without empty speeches or hype. What's really going on here? What's pulling them in? Not from a political angle or for shock value, but from that deep human place we all feel but rarely dare to admit. Why the West is turning to Islam. We live in a weird time, full of rituals without meaning, conversations without substance, and endless searching that somehow always ends in emptiness. Modern people, despite all the material progress around them, are feeling a deep spiritual hunger. They're tired of quick fixes, tired of religion being sold like a product, tired of spirituality reduced to Instagram quotes and feel-good affirmations. They don't want sugar-coated words anymore. What they're craving? Something real. Something that speaks straight to the soul, and that's where Islam steps in. Not with fake smiles or empty promises, but with a kind of honesty that actually demands courage. Islam doesn't promise comfort. It offers awakening. Faith that doesn't sell out. In a world that changes trends faster than clothes, Islam stands firm, like a rock in the ocean, unmoved by the waves. It doesn't twist itself to fit the times just to stay popular. It doesn't water down its principles for approval. That's exactly what many Westerners, people who've grown tired of religious traditions that feel stale or shallow, find so rare when they discover Islam, authenticity. Take prayer, for example. This isn't some once-a-week show you do at a church while the rest of the week goes back to normal. No, this is a daily conversation 5 times a day between you and your Creator. No middleman, no performance. Just you, standing there, raw, humble, fully present. You say the same words the Prophet Muhammad said over 1400 years ago. Every movement, raising your hands, bowing, prostrating, reminds you that life isn't about ego. It's about surrender. For many new Muslims, this is the first time they've ever truly prayed. Not just asked for things, but actually talked to God, a rebellion against your own appetites. Ramadan isn't just about skipping meals and water. It's a full-on reset button for the soul. For 30 days, a Muslim hits pause on autopilot, that default mode where we chase instant gratification, and starts taking control of their thoughts, words, and actions. In the West, where life moves, at breakneck speed and happiness is measured in how much you consume, Ramadan feels like a slap to the face. It says, you are stronger than your cravings. You are not a slave to your desires. And when someone realizes they can go without food, without gossip, without complaining, that they can live with discipline and awareness, something inside shifts. They tap into strength they didn't know they had, structure that sets you free. A lot of people hear Islam and think rules, rules, rules. 5 daily prayers, fasting, modest dress. That sounds restrictive, right? But look closer. Modern. Life is exhausting because it gives us too many choices. Every single day, we're bombarded with questions. What should I believe? What should I value? How should I even live? It's like walking through a maze with no map. Islam gives you the map. It says, this is the path. It's clear. You don't have to guess anymore. And here's the twist. Those boundaries, they're what set you free. When you know exactly what to do, you stop wasting energy doubting yourself. You walk with purpose. You move forward with confidence. Community that heals loneliness. We live in an age where we're more connected than ever, yet more alone. People have thousands of Facebook friends, but no one who really checks in. They can spend all day surrounded by people and still go home feeling empty. Islam offers something rare in the modern West, real belonging. When someone becomes Muslim, they don't just get a new belief system. They get a whole new family. Imagine this. You're a new convert in London, stepping into a mosque for the first time. Before you can even feel awkward, someone greets you with a warm "Assalamu alaikum," a smile that feels genuine. Someone offers you a ride. Another invites you to break fast at their home. Suddenly, you've got brothers and sisters who care, not because you're useful to them, but because of faith. This isn't just friendship. This is bond deeper than blood. The answer to a quiet longing. Islam isn't spreading in the West through force or propaganda. It's growing because it answers a quiet ache, the kind most people can't even put into words. In a noisy world, it brings peace. In a world full of fakeness, it brings truth. In a world obsessed with the self, it brings brotherhood and sisterhood. In a world that's lost its way, it brings direction. For those tired of living on the surface, Islam is an invitation to dive deeper. And for those brave enough to answer that call, they often find what they've been missing all along, meaning. Why the West is turning to Islam. There's this deep, quiet exhaustion that seems to follow people these days, a kind of spiritual fatigue. Not because we don't know enough, but because we know too much. We're drowning in information, bombarded with ideas, caught in debates that never end. Religion, which should be a source of peace and clarity, often feels like just another confusing piece of the puzzle. Contradictions in sacred texts, shifting moral standards, rewritten histories, it all creates this endless maze of questions with no clear way out. And somewhere in the middle of all that confusion, one big question starts to rise. Is there something out there that doesn't change with the times? Something solid? Something that doesn't need to be redefined every few decades? When God isn't a mystery, you have to guess. For a lot of truth seekers in the West, Islam shows up not as just another confusing religion, but as something surprisingly clear. It doesn't ask you to shut off your brain. It actually invites you to turn it on. The idea of God in Islam is so simple, it almost feels radical. 1. No children, no parents, no shape, no limits of time or space, no complicated myths, no confusing incarnations, no middleman between you and your Creator. Just Him, pure, singular, eternal. If you grew up in a tradition where God was painted, dramatized, or adjusted, to fit modern trends, this kind of clarity can feel like walking into fresh air after being stuck in a stuffy room for years. Islam doesn't demand blind faith. It challenges you to think. The Quran doesn't say, "Believe because we said so." It says, "Don't they reflect?" It doesn't hide from doubt. It welcomes the test. Consistency in a world that never stops changing. We live in an age where truth feels temporary. What's right today could be wrong tomorrow. Everything gets updated, revised, rebranded, even beliefs. But then there's the Quran. The words Muslims read today are exactly the same as what was revealed 400 years ago. No edits, no censorship, no softening the message to fit modern sensibilities. Just the original text, unchanged, unshaken. This isn't just a claim, it's an invitation. Doubt it, check it, compare it, test it. For Western thinkers who've grown skeptical of religion because of its messy history of contradictions, Islam's approach feels like finding water in a desert of uncertainty. Not just belief, but a blueprint for life. Islam doesn't stop at believe in God. It goes further, giving clear guidance for every part of life. How to run an honest business. How to respect your parents without letting them control you. How to love your partner without putting them on a pedestal. Even how to clean your soul from hidden sicknesses like pride and vanity. This isn't a religion that only shows up on Sundays. It's a complete framework for living, speaking to every role you play as a child, a spouse, a leader, a human being. It doesn't leave you guessing. It gives you direction. When the search ends. A lot of converts describe their moment of entering Islam not as some dramatic lightning-in-the-sky conversion, but as a quiet realization. This makes sense. They didn't come under pressure. They didn't fall for emotional manipulation. They came after asking questions, tough ones. And they found a system that didn't shy away from scrutiny. In fact, it welcomed it. In a world full of half-truths and ever-shifting beliefs, Islam offered something rare, conviction that stands up to reason, a clear voice in a loud world. Islam isn't growing in the West because of threats of hellfire or promises of paradise. It's growing because, in a world overwhelmed by conflicting voices, it offers something that doesn't need to be questioned again and again. To a generation tired of picking and choosing from a spiritual buffet, taking what feels good, ignoring what doesn't, Islam brings a bold message. Here is the truth. Question it if you must. But if you're looking for honesty, it's right here, waiting for you. And in a world that's become overly complicated, that kind of clarity isn't just refreshing, it's freedom. Why the West is craving Islam. Let's talk about the most painful paradox of our time. The West has everything, except peace. Look around. Modern life is full of things that should make people happy. Cutting-edge technology, endless freedom, unlimited access to entertainment, and every material comfort you can imagine. So why are mental hospitals overflowing? Why are antidepressants now part of daily life for millions? And why, behind all those perfect Instagram smiles, are so many people quietly asking, what's the point of all this? The big lie of individualism. Western culture sells a dream. That sounds beautiful at first. Be your own person. Chase your dreams. You're the master of your fate. But let's dig deeper. When everyone's told they have to create their own meaning, build their own morality, design their own purpose, isn't that actually an impossible burden? We've turned human beings into anxious curators of their own lives. Every day we ask ourselves, what should I believe? What goals are worth chasing? How do I know what's right? And thanks to social media, it's gotten even worse. Every single day we compare our real, messy lives with the highlight reels of others. And what does that leave us with? A generation stuck in a cycle of unhappy productivity, freedom that feels like a trap, endless choices that lead to paralysis, a rebellion against a broken culture. In the middle of all this chaos, Islam doesn't show up as just another religion. It shows up as a philosophical protest against a way of life that clearly isn't working. Islam offers something radical in today's world. Not find your own truth, but here's the truth. That hasn't changed since the first human walked this earth. Not chase your desires, but master your desires before they destroy you. Not you are the center of the universe, but you are a servant with a noble place in a divine plan. For a generation tired of being the CEO of their own lives, always deciding, always doubting, the idea of surrender, which is what Islam literally means, starts to feel like freedom, purpose versus pleasure, the soul's eternal battle, Islam. Doesn't sell illusions. It doesn't promise, follow us and you'll get rich. Believe and your life will be problem-free. No, instead, it gives something far more honest. Life will be hard, But every hardship has meaning, every test has wisdom, and every moment can become an act of worship. That's what modern Western culture is missing, a way to suffer with dignity. While people chase dopamine highs that fade in seconds, Islam offers something deeper. Peace that comes from surrender. A wake-up call. We're standing on the edge of a spiritual cliff. The West has proven one thing loud and clear: wealth, inner peace; absolute freedom, true happiness; individualism, fulfillment. And 400 years ago, Islam gave humanity a message that still stands. You're exhausted because you've been trying to play God. Stop. Return to the one who never tires, the real creator. So the question isn't just, why are more and more Westerners turning to Islam? It's also, how much longer are you going to keep pretending you can be happy without real meaning? This isn't just about religion. It's about a simple, undeniable truth. Human souls were never made to live without a higher purpose, and the West, for all its progress, is finally starting to realize that. A spiritual awakening in the West. We live in a strange time, one full of paradoxes. The more we have, the less we feel like we have a purpose. The freer we are, the more trapped we seem to become. Many Western converts tell the same story. I had it all: a great career, a nice apartment, a busy social life. But why did I still feel empty? It's not that they were missing things. They were missing meaning, the spiritual bankruptcy of modern civilization. The West sold us a dream, that happiness can be bought, that fulfillment comes from consuming, that if you just work hard enough, you'll feel complete. But look closer, and what we're really seeing is a generation too busy to truly live. People more connected than ever, yet lonelier than ever. Souls so free they've lost all direction. And right in the middle of this chaos, Islam doesn't show up as just another option. It shows up as the opposite of everything that's broken. Islam isn't selling comfort or convenience. It's offering structure, discipline, purpose, something late-stage capitalism never could. The operating system for a lost soul. What makes Islam different isn't just its promise of paradise, it's how it helps you live right now, in this world. Think of it like this. Islam is a system that gives your life rhythm, rules, and renewal. It structures your time, 5 daily prayers. It guides your choices, halal and haram. It builds your character through fasting, charity, patience. It defines your relationships with mahram and non-mahram boundaries. For people raised in a culture that says, do whatever feels right, the discipline of Islam starts to feel like fresh air. Because here's the truth. Too much freedom? It paralyzes. Islam offers something better than endless options. It offers clarity, consistency in a world that can't make up its mind. Let's be real. Our world is all over the place. Principles change with the trends. Morality shifts. Based on the latest poll, identity is now as flexible as your outfit. In the middle of all that confusion, Muslims stand firm. Their rituals haven't changed since the 7th century. Their values don't bend to fit modern fashion. Prayer is still prayer. Fasting is still fasting. Modesty still matters. Not as a restriction, but as a declaration. I am not an object. I am a servant of something greater. While the rest of the world chases algorithms and approval, Muslims walk like oak trees, deep-rooted, unmoved by passing winds. Why does this resonate so deeply? Because at the core of every human heart, there's a hunger for 3 things. Certainty, in a world that changes its mind every week. Community, in an age where we're all alone together. Transcendence, when everything around us screams, more, now, buy. Islam delivers all 3, unapologetically, a quiet awakening. This isn't about dramatic conversions or lightning in the sky moments. This is about a slow realization, a return to something real, something lasting. The West is finally waking up to a lie it's believed for too long, that humans can survive on likes, paychecks, vacations, but our souls were made for more. Islam is growing, not because it's easy, but because it's honest. It doesn't sell dreams. It offers a meaningful reality. So maybe the real question isn't, why are people in the West turning to Islam? Maybe the real question is, how much longer are you going to pretend that a life without purpose will ever satisfy your soul? This isn't the end of the journey. It's the beginning of a new awakening. And for those